My name is Irene Yu. I'm the Director for Migrant and Multicultural Banking for Westpac and Bank of Melbourne. So I'm the first generation Chinese immigrants, came from Brunei to Australia through Adelaide, and now I live and work in Melbourne.
You actually arrived in Australia when you were 16?
Yes, in the mid-80s when I was 16.
What was that like, starting school at that stage here?
It's a bit daunting because I came with my family under business migration. So being the eldest daughter, I need to take on the responsibility. At the same time, I need to assimilate myself very quickly with the local community. So it's a character building, I would say, at that time, but it really gave me a lot of opportunity to stretch myself.
How important is your ethnicity to you?
It is important. I realize the importance increases more as I grow over the years. The reason is because I can use my ethnicity to be a bridge connecting the local Australians as well as Asian Australian or someone like me that came from overseas being new in the country.
How has your ethnicity affected your professional career?
For me, I have to change my style quite consciously, how I work with senior management in Asia versus how I work with senior management over in Australia, either internal or external stakeholders. For example, in Asia, you don't ask a lot of questions, you allow your senior management to ask questions as a sign of respect. Whereas over here in Australia, you're expected to be curious, to ask questions, to be vocal. So I need to balance between who are on the board table. So if it's mainly Australians, so I need to express my view, make sure that my voice are being heard, because that is being seen as confidence. Whereas if it's a boardroom with majority of them are Asians, I need to demonstrate respectfulness so that to allow my audience to speak more, whereas I need to either agree to disagree or to find ways to collaborate.
Have you always been like that though, or has that been a learning as you've progressed through the ranks of your profession?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a learning throughout my journey, because I realized that in my earlier years when I was less vocal among the meeting, I've always been seen as less confident, that I don't have any view to share. Whereas I do realize that some of my Australian colleagues, they do have a lot of view to share, whether rightly or wrongly, I mean, at least there's a voice. So I think that has definitely taught me a great lesson that yes, it is important to share your voice, to share your view. That's the beauty of diversity of thought.
Do you think from your own personal experience that discrimination is alive and well in Australia?
I'll say yes and no. Yeah, it really depends how we define discriminations, because sometimes it can be unconscious bias. So I wouldn't call that discriminations, being that's because of ignorance. So there are times that we need to bring our colleagues or friends and stakeholders along the journey to create the awareness piece. Hence, so I think both sides have to play their role. Whereas discrimination is more conscious or trying to bring another person down. That's my view.
Have you experienced unconscious bias?
Yes, I do. Yeah, I can give you two examples. So for example, I used to look after a multinational company. The group CEO came to Australia that meet up with his banker. So obviously I was a senior banker together with my Anglo-Saxon male relationship manager. So in the meeting room, it's very, very natural that the customers will assume that I was there to take coffee and take notes. So when it comes to photocopying documents, he would just pass it to me straight away. So obviously my Anglo-Saxon colleague was furious and very apologetic, so took the document away from me and photocopied on my behalf.
Do you think that was an assumption made on the basis of your cultural background or because you're a woman?
Both. Because first of all, because I'm a woman and also I'm an Asian woman. Because I can give you another example that there was once, I travel a fair bit, so I was asked by a custom officer in terms of what do I do. So I say, I'm a banker. So naturally she'll assume that I work for a call center. Well, there's nothing wrong with working in a call center, but what frustrates me is the stereotyping, assuming that Asians are only good in working for a call center, irrespective of whether you're male or female. But again, it's my job to I suppose bring on the awareness piece that not all Asians work for the call center. So I did have a good conversation with the customs officer, and she became very appreciative, but at the same time being embarrassed as well.
How do we tackle that unconscious bias? Because the mere fact that it is unconscious makes it harder, doesn't it?
Yeah, so definitely it's something that we need to talk more about it. We need to create more awareness piece. It's the consciously that we have to introduce or imbue into part of the topic of discussion, either at the workplace or in the university, in the marketplace. Because clearly, I mean, Australians are curious, wanting to know more about Asia, and we are part of Asia region, Asia Pacific region. We have so many investors coming from Asia investing on our shore, and likewise as well, Australians are getting so global as a global citizen. So the education piece, creating the awareness, is really important.
Why do you think we have so few Asian Australian leaders?
I suppose there's two reasons for it. One is sometimes we work hard, head down, butt up, and we just keep working, assuming that the result will speak for itself. But sometimes we need to amplify the outcome, the result. At the same time, we also need to make sure that our Australian colleagues recognize the value that we contribute. And also importantly, when the Asian Australians have progressed to a senior management level, they are in the influencing positions. So they need to do their part to open up doors of opportunity for the next generation to progress. Because I won't be here who I am without the support of my former colleagues who are Asian Australian, as well as Australian themselves.